Zidane Daney, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Nerd Chat. I am with my fellow host.
Frank the Dopamine Dog, aka Jack,
Yep,
at your service.
and Jack is not, or not Jack. Joker is not here today. Apparently, he has other things that he needs to get done. But yeah, so as you guys can clearly see from the topic of today's video, Little House on the Prairie, we're going to be talking about this book. Now, obviously, we usually don't stick to whatever we make as our thumbnail, but we're going to try today. Specifically,
Or aren't we just
because
going
of
to
the
talk
fact
about things that we don't think people know about?
exactly we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about shows, books, movies that we don't necessarily think that other people have very much knowledge about. Even if you've seen this, you're probably in the lower amount of group, or you might just be older.
True.
Because I think like a lot of the things that we're probably going to be talking about are not going to be like the younger stuff. Like maybe some things.
I won first place!
Oh, congratulations. Captain Jack is playing Stardew Valley again.
As per usual.
Yep. So, yeah. So the reason that this whole topic came up is because I was talking to my coworker, and basically we have this little area where there's just a little wall, and then the window to look outside, and in that little area there is just an absolute ton of lost rulers and a singular pen. As well as obviously a whole bunch of cobwebs. And no one can clean it out because it's just, one, it's really tight, and two, you'd have to climb over this thing in order to get there. But obviously, huge mess. And we basically said you either had to be really skinny, or you had to probably come and then I said, or you had to be around the same time as Laura Ingalls Wilder. Because Laura Ingalls Wilder, I've been to her house, and there is literally a staircase that was for her daughter that went from the kitchen to the daughter's bedroom, and it is literally as skinny as this area is, and it's just
wow.
I don't know how anyone could climb it because it's so tight of a fit.
Well, if it was for a little child,
Even still, like I think I think she might have used it herself sometimes. And it's just like,
yeah.
how in the world are you skinny enough to be able to use this thing? Like, first making the corners, just I don't know. But yeah, and then my coworker is like, Who's Laura Ingalls Wilder? And I'm like, Little House on the Prairie? She had no idea who what I was talking about.
That's atrocious, quite honestly.
I
that
know,
means
right? And I basically had to explain to her that that the Little House on the Prairie series is basically Laura Ingalls Wilder's whole tale about how her and her family moved west as the United States expanded.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing story that, honestly, if you are into history, you should absolutely read, especially if you're interested in American history, because it's really interesting. It's kind of like the Anne Frank of the United States. That's a really bad analogy, but still.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much right.
Like, we don't it's so hard to understand these things when you're dealing with like these big pictures. But if you read like the little stories, the stories of the singular people, so like Anne Frank when you're dealing with World War II, or you're dealing with Laura Ingalls Wilder as the United States expanded, you get to understand basically how the people are, and it's just a fun time to understand that it's a good way to understand what exactly was going on, especially if you're someone who is into history like you.
Precisely.
So yeah. Do you have any series that you think of that very few people have heard of?
Well, I think of a movie, actually.
Okay.
So one of my dad's and I's favorite movies is called Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that, but I have a very
I think I
vague
showed it to
memory
you
of
guys.
Huh?
I think I showed it to you guys.
I think you might have. But I feel like I
Because
also saw it some other time as well. I don't know.
it's just such a great movie, and it has Jude Law, Angelina Jolie, just a star-studded cast, and it combines everything from dinosaurs to film noir to superheroes to robots to historical fiction. You know, he drives or he flies, I guess, a warthog airplane with the jaws on the side. He the whole world is as set as though you would use blimps, really, as well as airplanes. Um, and there's like the fact that the bad guy is trying to create a new heaven and new earth, and a new, but
Wait a
not
minute.
the new heaven and new earth.
Was this the one
And
with Shangri-La?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was trying to remember which one it was, but yes, that's
Yeah,
it.
and then they randomly spend time in a super radioactive mine, and then they end up in Shangri-La, and it's a whole like, and there's dinosaurs in Shangri-La, and I don't, yeah, it's a whole.
It's just a mess of just hilariousness and amazingness.
It is. It's yeah.
Seriously, if you guys haven't seen that movie, absolutely do yourselves a favor and watch it because it's amazing.
It's so just it's funny, and it's silly, and it's got these one-liners that my family still just quotes all the time,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's just good. All right.
absolutely.
And I mean Jude Law. What could go wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Speaking of movies, I did mention this in a previous video, but I don't think that very many people have seen Willow. Actually,
I
I don't
haven't.
mention it to very many people, but it's something that I don't think very many people have seen either because it's not it's kind of taking a lot of inspiration from Lord of the Rings because it's literally about a short person traveling across the world trying to bring something in extremely important to the other side of the world, and they're joined by a whole bunch of crazy people. And it's amazing. We get obviously Mad Mardigan, Willow. There's like a love story between one of the main bad guy's daughter and the main human guy. Um, Instead of the most important thing being just a little trinket, it's this little girl who's literally just a baby, and you're just constantly worried about, oh no, she's being kidnapped and other things, and it's just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then there's the brownies. Let I'll just I'm not gonna leave it do much more with that, but they're hilarious, and if you haven't seen it, you should give it a try because it is absolutely hilarious. And it's getting a new show soon, so apparently people liked it enough for that.
Interesting.
Um, so yeah, and then I think I've also told you about one of my favorite shows of all time, Greatest American Hero.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I just came up with another show that I think people may not have seen. So come talk about Greatest American Hero, and then
Okay.
fine.
So basically, Greatest American Hero is I've made a video going over this. It's one of my first showed some loves, but Greatest American Hero is basically about this guy who gets superpowers from a special suit that is given to him by aliens, and he has basically he loses the instruction manual, so now he is forced to completely learn on the fly, and he has to team up with this guy who happens to be an FBI agent. I think he's an FBI. Yeah, he's an FBI agent, and the two of them go on crazy adventures together. And like some of the my one of my favorite episodes is this one time when they have to play baseball, and basically what the character does is he has to wear his superhero outfit underneath his baseball uniform so he can throw a perfect pitch that will basically always make somebody lose, basically. And it's an absolutely hilarious moment. And one of the things that I absolutely love, and I referenced this in 25 Days of Nerdy Christmas, is that the way that they got the symbol for the super hero outfit was the guy one of the directors, I think, maybe producers, literally took some scissors out of his cup holder, held them up, and said, "There's your symbol." And it's literally just scissors that make the symbol, and it's just like, what? That is amazing.
That's so interesting.
I absolutely recommend that if at least watch the first episode, because obviously it's a long series and went for a really long time. So if you don't have time to watch the entire thing, at least watch the pilot, because you'll have a good laugh.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah. So you had another show that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, actually, two have come to mind. One is called The Cape.
The what?
The Cape, as in the thing that flies behind superheroes.
Okay.
And then the second one is called Spy.
Okay. I have no idea what these are, but I'm intrigued.
So The Cape came out when I still lived in Texas, so sometime before 2011.
Okay.
Meaning it's a pretty old, it's an older show. But the idea was this guy was a police officer, and he was trying to make an arrest when he was in this train yard, and the train yard exploded. And everyone thought he was dead, including his son and wife. And he can't tell them the truth. So, because he gets adopted by this circus called the Circus of Crime, and they give him this cape that is just like incredibly super and gives him superpowers. And
so it's the
he
Mask
goes
/ Greatest American Hero / literally everything else that's hilarious.
Yes, and he's in this circus, and he realizes at one point that he doesn't want to do crime anymore, and so he goes on the run from them with their cape, and they're really upset. So he's on the run from them, and he can't tell anyone his secret identity. But his son, he decides to become this guy called The Cape because his son loved the superhero called The Cape, who was in his comic books. And so then he goes outside, and he starts a relationship with his son as The Cape, and he like owls outside of his window at his apartment, and he just talks to his son, and that's how he bonds with him.
That sounds amazing. That honestly
it's on,
does. Like,
it's
honestly,
so good.
It really reminds me of, well, Greatest American Hero. It sounds like it could have at least been inspired by it.
Yeah.
And even if it's not, like, there's a lot of other shows that are similar to that, like Ultraman and other shows like it. The point
I just love it.
Exists.
I just love it.
Yeah.
It's a good show. And then the next one is called Spy, and it's on Hulu, and my uncle showed it to us. And it's this humorous, it's a huge comedy. It's just ridiculous. It's British. And this guy applies for a job, but he goes to the wrong interview.
Okay.
And he goes to an interview for an MI6 agent.
Okay.
And he gets hired, of all things. And so he's just confused. Well, he becomes a spy, and there's all this stuff about, he's like how he's becoming a spy, if he's a good enough spy, if he's really a spy, how to learn how to do all the spy things. And he can't tell anybody that he works for MI6 because he works for MI6. And then, I don't know. My favorite scene is, though, this female character who's his co-character. she is trying to convince everybody that she's dangerous because nobody's afraid of her. She says, nobody's afraid of her, and they should be. And she's trying to convince everyone that she's dangerous. So she takes her gun and she's pretending, but like acting like she's gonna shoot up the place. And she's like, "Everybody get down!" Da, da, da. And this main character, he walks by, looks at her, and takes his finger and puts on the barrel of the gun and goes, and it's just like he knows she's not gonna shoot anybody, so he just goes. He touches the barrel of the gun and goes, boop. And it's just like it's so funny. And so she puts the gun away and she's like, "What the hell, guys?" Because nobody even moved. Like literally, no one even reacted. So yeah, it's a huge comedy. It's ridiculous.
That sounds amazing.
It's so good. And then there's this side character. So the main character has a son, right? And so he can't tell his son that he's an MI6 agent. And so his son is like, "Why are you always gone, Dad?" And like this, but who takes care of him is the guy's best friend, who has like a PhD in engineering and shit. And like he's just incredible, but he works at like a hobby shop because he's too lazy and doesn't want to do anything else. He's like uber smart, but refuses to do anything with it.
That's amazing.
Like homeboy rebuilds computers for fun and like just works at a hobby shop.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
It is. It's really funny.
I mean, obviously we could also talk about Spyrowick Chronicles / City of Ember. Like
Facts.
Like those books, I think they're a bit more popular than some of the other shows and books that we've talked about, but they're not. I don't understand why they're not that popular though.
Like, you know what makes me mad that they're not popular is the How to Train Your Dragon book series.
Yeah, like I mean, I haven't gotten around to reading them yet, but I do plan to at some point.
And they are the best, and you know what? They came out when I was. Get up, Carmen. Get up. Ow!
Your dog sit on you?
No, she's just being obnoxious.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, they came out when I was in like the 3rd and 4th grades, and so my best friend and I were obsessed with them, and we just, yeah. I mean, we were obsessed. Like, we literally spoke Dragonese to each other.
So wait, that's... Wow, that already sounds like it's completely different. Just from the brief thing that you've mentioned, it really does sound completely different from the actual movie.
It is. It is. It's vastly different. I was really upset when the movies came out, and they were so different.
Yeah. Like, obviously, if you, I think that, I think that if you, that you should probably give those a second chance at some point. And just ignore that they're nothing like the books that they're supposed to be based off.
Right.
And then also watch the shows, because, like, I don't even know how they just made the shows. The movies are good, and then there's the shows, and it's just like, what the fuck? How did you go from this to this? How did you go from good to just amazing? I don't know. It's like, sure, you can expect that from things like Star Wars, but I don't know.
I hate Ethel so much. Oh my god. Speaking of shows that people might not have seen, The Worst Witch.
Yeah, I think that more people have seen that, but it's just like, it probably has been lost for some people in the just all
abyss of Netflix. I'm just watching Ethel bully Mrs. Hubble, and I'm just so mad.
Yeah.
As she makes the paint cover her, and it's just...
Yeah. Ugh. There are so many shows on Netflix, and it's just like, how does anyone keep track of them all? Because there's like so many that like are good, and then they never get anything else from them because they just get buried.
I want to watch the new one that's on Netflix that just came out. It was called Pan. About Peter Pan.
Okay, that sounds fun. I might check that out at some point. One show that I think you might enjoy is 12 Forever. Basically, it's a show about growing up, and the main character is obviously a 12-year-old girl, and how she is growing up, and like the entire show delves with different things that are going on with her body. Like there's like one of the main bad guys is like is an older woman because she's scared of becoming an adult.
Aw.
And she I don't think they ever I don't know if they actually get into a relationship, but she does have this friend that it's clear that they are going to eventually become a couple, but they never I don't know if they ever did. I stopped I lost interest in the show shortly afterwards because other shows were happening. And I don't think it ever aired a second season. But
No, bummer.
yeah. But I think that you would at least enjoy it because it is an interesting show, and I think it's like one of the main shows that like a lot of that gay talk TikTok that's gay. That's one of the shows that they sometimes talk about. I see. It's rare, but it does occasionally happen. I mean, obviously, there's She-Ra, which just they went in such a different direction with that. It was just like from the original show. I was like, why did you do this? Like, I I don't understand. Like, and also I don't understand how there's just so many like 90% of the characters in the show are gay, and it's like, how are there this many characters if everyone's gay?
Well, think about it this way. When you're a queer person watching almost any show that exists, you can sit there and go, why are there so many fucking straight people? This is statistically impossible.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
I got a fedora in Stardew Valley, and it's so dumb.
Just like
I love
completely
it.
change topic. That's us for you. But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of funny because like I think there are at the end of the show there are two straight relationships, and they are literally the two main characters besides She-Ra, and then one of the side pretty important side characters, and a character who is a bad guy, like for the majority of the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because if you want to unpack that, one of the straight characters being the bad character is kind of a hilarious twist, because most of the time for our childhood, if you look back, the villains, if you notice something about them, they carry a very queer tone.
Yeah,
because so think about villains in the past, like the characters, even Dexter's Laboratory, where the characters were cross-dressing and they were the bad guys because that's absurd and who would ever do that, and that's just nuts, and that's what society
and then him
has
from
believed.
Powerpuff Girls.
Yes, exactly.
That is an interesting
so...
good point. Like the character ends up being good by the end of that, and joins the good guys team before the relationship actually starts or gets fully into it. But well, actually, they do start the relationship while he's still evil, but it's while he's also turning good at the same time. So,
really, must you?
Carmen,
thank you. She has to be in my personal space at the worst possible times.
Fair enough, yeah. But yeah, he starts turning good, which I like. Yeah, that makes sense. But it's just, yeah, that is an interesting point. Like, they really wanted to flip the coin on its head to the to not being on either side.
Yeah, they wanted to flip the coin on its edge.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I do really enjoy like a lot of the more recent shows, such as Owl House. That's amazing. Obviously, the main characters are gay, but there's also like, it's pretty. It's an actually pretty even split, which I think is kind of interesting. So there's characters that even if you're straight, then you're like, oh, yeah, I can understand what's going on here. Even if you're not an ally, there's like somebody who's like, oh, now I understand, and then you might become an ally.
Yeah.
So I think that probably Owl House is probably a good show to introduce to someone who's kind of on the edge of becoming an ally. Like because obviously then it will be like, oh, now I get it a bit more. They're
Yeah.
just people. And also it like slowly takes its time to get to that. So to basically put any of the relationships, it's like, yeah, you realize that all these characters are people long before it's like, here, let me hit you in the face with gay. We got off topic again.
Yeah. You want to know what I find really interesting about The Worst Witch, though? Is that for all the shenanigans that Ethel gets caught doing, she never gets in trouble.
That's a good point. Like, obviously Mildred gets in trouble, like, all the time.
She gets in trouble for the things that Ethel does. Like, Ethel literally bullied Mildred, and Miss Hardroom was like, both of you to Miss Cackle's office now. And I was like, literally, why? Mildred didn't do anything. It was Ethel the whole time.
Yeah, like she
and
didn't
then
even,
when Miss Cackle was like,
make fun of her back or
yeah, Mildred doesn't do anything back to Ethel usually. I mean, sometimes she does, but not usually.
Let's also be honest, that's very accurate to how the real world works.
It's true, and it sucks.
It really does. Like, it's so bad.
I mean, you remember, oh, maybe you don't because you weren't in middle school with us. When I got APEP for existing, and some girls went to the middle school VP, vice principal, and they were like, this is what happened, and this is what went down, and the VP didn't even ask my side, and she was like, you're suspended for a day.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Or the time when Mr. Who? Oh, no, that was also in middle school, was when I got beat up, and that same vice principal was like, well, you probably fought back, or you probably did something to incite it. And then when she watched the video that the idiots who beat me up had taken, the principal himself was like, shut up.
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. And
yeah,
honestly, it's a sad example of just what bullying is in this day and age, because it's like, no matter what, even the victims are going to be punished.
Exactly. And though I wasn't punished for that because of the video, it was only because of the video that I wasn't punished. If they hadn't done that, then I would have gotten in just as much trouble.
Yeah. And it's just like, no, don't do that. That's stupid. And it's just, I don't understand. It's sad that it's accurate, that shows are showing that exactly what's happening,
and people are like, "Oh, haha, that would never happen." Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, I don't understand. We've been constantly talking about how bullying is a huge problem in basically the entire world, and it feels like it's not doing anything. Like,
see, I just at this point I just call it peer abuse, because that's what it is.
Yeah. It absolutely is, and it's just like, how are you even, like, you're punishing the victims, which I guess, yeah, that's accurate to even adult life.
Sometimes.
We're not gonna get too much into that because obviously we don't want to get like huge problems on this video, but even still, like, we're probably gonna get if YouTube actually gave a crap, this video would probably have issues anyways because we talk about bullying. But
yeah,
but
I'm working hard not to fall asleep.
You can't talk about these things and publicly, or else you get punished. And it's like, what? How am I getting punished for speaking out about about these topics? Like, these are actual topics that everyone agrees they're awful, and it's like, no, you can't post that stuff. And it's like, what the fuck? I don't know.
True. Listen, I'm like falling asleep here.
Yeah, fair enough. We could probably end it here. I think this is like one of our shortest ones, but that's fine.
I'm so sorry. I haven't like slept in days.
Yeah, I mean, I think last night was one of the best sleeps I got, and it was still not the best. So I get it. I 100% get it. But yeah, so that'll be it for today's episode of Nerd Chat. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Seriously, check out some of the series that we talked about because they're amazing.
We're not sponsored, but they're great.
We're not sponsored, but they're great. And yeah, seriously, if you're interested in any of if anything that we've said in this video has gotten you interested, let us know, and let us know your thoughts on these different books and shows and stuff, because that would be fun to read. But anyways,
especially
guys,
Spy Captain, because it's bomb.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, I've been Electra Ninja.
And I've been Captain Jack.
And we will see you guys next time. But on.